Healing Journeys today. Welcome, Butch and Julieann Hartman.
Hello.
We are here on HARTbeat, and boy, we're very excited. It's been a whole week. How did the weeks go by so quickly?
I don't know, but what freaks me out is we're in the second week of November already.
I know, it's amazing. So hopefully your year, now the year's not over yet, but the year is getting there. We're wrapping up the year. So hopefully your year has gone wonderfully, and hopefully if it hasn't gone super wonderfully, hopefully it's ending wonderfully. Because listen, no matter what happens in the world, no matter what's going on in any other area of the world, whether it's politically, whatever is going on, Jesus is Lord, and always focus on Him.
Absolutely.
When you focus on Him, you will not sink into the water. You will always be walking on the water if you focus on Him. So I just want to remind everybody of that.
Today, because everybody, California, we lost some stuff, which would be so sad.
There was just a big election, as everybody knows.
But I made a choice this morning when I walked out of my house to go on my prayer walk. I was like, you know what? I'm going to rejoice because we had a big rainstorm here.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, here in California, you can only water your yard for 8 minutes a week. And so
because there's a quote unquote drought. There's been a drought out here for 35 years.
Oh my God. I've been born and raised here, so it's always been. But what I loved is that the water, the rain watered my lawn for 2 days. So I felt like there was some little new green buds coming up, and I'm like, I'm going to rejoice in that, and I'm not going to be sad or be upset.
It might sound weird to a lot of people out there when you live in an area where it rains a lot. It's no big deal. Like, what are you so excited about the rain for?
I know.
But in California, seriously, in Southern California, it doesn't rain hardly at all. I mean, it does rain, but not very often, and only for a few times a year. So when it does rain out here, it is a very cool moment for us. Oh my gosh, there's water coming from the sky. What does this possibly mean? But it is always nice because things get washed, things get cleaned. It's really cool.
So hello everybody, Tyler and Hannah and Alexandra.
All of our good friends.
Hannah, I already said Hannah.
Well,
our friends. But
is there another Hannah? Just same Hannah.
No, the same.
Same Hannah.
But anyway, today we are going to talk about how do you treat your spouse when you're frustrated?
How do you treat everybody when you're frustrated? Because whether it's your spouse or not, when frustration comes in, that's where emotions can run high. Things can be said that probably shouldn't be said. Things get done that probably shouldn't be done. So the best way to do that is to eliminate the frustration. So let's break down where frustration comes from.
Well, these are just like little things. For instance, it's like you can have a nice, beautiful, holy hour. You've been talking with the Lord, spending time with them, and then you get in your car. Well, okay, let's take the rain. You're trying to get out to your car, get your stuff in the car without getting wet, and then of course
you drop something.
Or your backpack gets stuck on the door, and then you got to open up the door, like all those things. Or maybe you are trying to fix something in the house and it doesn't work. And the first person that you're going to see when as your frustration starts to build is maybe your spouse. And so instead of like,
and that's usually when I come around the corner. Hi, I just got you some flowers and a latte, and you're like, I just dropped all my stuff.
No, and I'm like, pick it up, whatever. And that happens. So that's why we like to talk about like all the little things that happen as well. Like we all, of course, we always cover the big stuff. But what about those little things? Because no matter if it's little or big, we still need to be respectful of each other in every way. And so that really helps when, you are mindful of what, like, okay, right now I am very angry. I'm frustrated. I'm this, I'm that at something else. And who walks right into the frame? Oh, my wife or my spouse or my fiance or my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever. And then they get the brunt of it. And so, I've done that to you. You've done that to me. It bothers me, of course. If I said it didn't, that'd be dumb, because it does bother me.
It also doesn't help if you're a person that is prone to emotional situations in the first place.
Yeah.
If you're a person that's always on the very, very edge of emotion, if you're hypersensitive to everything, if you're angry all the time, or if you're scared all the time, or if you're nervous all the time, that can really be amazing bad catalyst for frustration to creep in. I wanted to read this scripture to you from the Song of Solomon. How often do you open up your Bible and get the Song of Solomon?
It's funny that you say that because you're the second person in the last day
Really?
who's mentioned the Song of Solomon.
It's a book in the Bible, the Song of Solomon. And in chapter 2, verse 15, it says, take us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. This is referring to imagine a vineyard full of grapes. And, you see this beautiful vineyard, you're looking over all the grapes, but then below the top of the vines and the top of the grapes down and below, there's little foxes underneath that are eating the vines, eating the grapes. They're basically spoiling everything from underneath. And it's these little things. And by the way, you don't see the ruin that the foxes create right away. But after a while, you'll begin to see it because the little things can creep in and begin to cause damage you don't even see. Little things like saying something you shouldn't say to your spouse, or reacting a certain way that you shouldn't react. Maybe you react a little more dramatically than you should. And trust me, everything we say here, we've done. Believe me,
and we still do. Maybe.
And you do, and so do I. But we've been married 30 years, and we're both very energetic people. And if you're an energetic person, you're going to tend to. Well, we are energetic. We're energetic people. So when you have energy, and there's a sense of urgency to everything, you can tend to, when you're heading in one direction and something stops you, that can start to create frustration. But the Lord said, and by the way, let me just start this too. Frustration comes out of fear. It's centered on fear.
Right.
It has its roots in fear, because without the fear, there would be no frustration. So why are you frustrated? What are you fearful of? Well, in my case, I'm fearful I'm not going to accomplish that task I had set in my mind to go do. Because if something stops me, I'm then, oh God, what do I got to do now? What? And I have to shift my focus. And that, for me, that's a frustrating thing for me.
Well, and that's why you need to talk about those things, or we need to talk about those things as a couple, because in the moment, like when everything is great and you're just, like lovey-dovey to each other, you don't really want to bring up those things that bother you. Right? Because you're like, I don't want to go into that conversation because it may not be the result that I'm looking for. But then, when do you? So in the moment of the frustration, you go, I hate when you talk to me that way. Right? Or whatever you might say. That would be something that I would definitely say. And then when they're already frustrated, guess what it's going to do? It's going to combust, and there's going to be even more of an argument, because most of the time you don't go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. No, because you're heated because something just happened. So you're heated argument or a heated conversation. And so that's why, I'm always telling young marrieds or fiancés that you need to learn how to talk about these things before they happen. Meaning like, like not even just like predicting it to happen, but like, for instance, like now would be a good time to say, Butch, I don't like when you are, when, like, let's say you drop something and you just get so frustrated because you want everything to be perfect and right. And then if something maybe didn't turn out was perfect and right. And then I come around the corner and then I get the brunt of it. And I don't like that feeling. And so then you can talk about it. You want to talk about it right now?
Well, I've got a list of things we could talk about. If you'd like to go, we want to go into them all right now. No, but
But look, it's true though. You find a good time to talk about it.
Yeah, if you're mature in the Lord, you will find a time to talk about it, and you will really, really, and this goes for all the guys out there, you're going to really have to learn how to put your pride aside. With men, it's a whole big respect thing. You don't want to admit you're wrong. You don't want to admit that you have done something wrong, and you probably haven't done anything wrong, but you think you've done something wrong, and you think she thinks you've done something wrong, even though she's probably not even thinking that at all. But even leaving that door open in your head, like, did I do something wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have said this. Maybe I shouldn't have gone there for that extra hour. Like I want, whatever it was. We're speaking to people here who are couples that love each other. Then there's a lot of other frustrations that come along with couples that are involved in other things. There's all kinds of things people do when they're married that frustrate them. But if you can begin to give your things to the Lord, 1 Peter 5:7 says to cast all your care unto him, for he cares for you. If you can learn how to go, just say these words. I don't even know how to cast my care on the Lord, because it's not a physical thing. Like, my cares are not physical things. I can just go here, take that. I can't do that with the Lord physically, but spiritually I can. Lord, I cannot handle these things I'm thinking about right now. This is too much for me. I'm going to give this to you right now, like you told me to do. And I always point to the Bible. It is written. I always say it is written right here. Cast your care on him, for he cares for you. So I'm going to give this to you right now. And then I do my best to walk away from it. I do my best to go, all right, not doing that anymore. I'm not going there anymore. In fact, Andrew Wommack's got an even a more amazing testimony than that. But he would forget things people did to him.
I know.
Like people were like mad at him and angry. They would actually verbally abuse him and do terrible things to him. And he would just cast it on the Lord so much he'd forget all about it. And then his wife would remind him, we can't go in that house. That's the guy who did this. And he'd be like, oh, who? He would forget all about it.
So
he moved on mentally.
Right. So how do we okay, even let me go back. Even a frustration could be like, let's say you need to get a job and you keep getting doors shut in your face. And then, the wife comes in and is saying something like, hey, do you want to go do this or whatever? And you're so angry at the fact that maybe a job interview just came and you didn't do well on it. There's all kinds of stories. I'm just kind of going into any scenarios. It doesn't mean that you just have to drop something. You might be going through a really frustrating season because you feel like nothing is working, like nothing's springing up and helping you out. That could definitely be something. But so when you go to your spouse and say, okay, so this is what really hurts my feelings, or I just don't like that feeling when something goes wrong with you, but I don't know how to approach it. And so do you want me to come up and just give you the biggest hug? Do you want me to kiss you? Do you want me to give you your space? What do you want? You want me to have the kids run up to you and say, daddy, daddy, what is it that you want during that moment? And that's how you communicate and you talk, because when they can tell you, oh, okay, yeah, during this, no, you need to Hannah, literally shock me or something and get my attention.
Hannah says, and Hannah, you don't need to keep repeating the same thing over and over, but Hannah said, your clothes are glitching. I think we have some technical things going on.
Yeah, there might be. Sometimes
they're glowing clothes. But thank you, Hannah, for telling us. You don't need to tell us anymore. We got it. Thank you, though. Someone says, hello, I am late. Well, I'm sorry you're late, but we're glad you're here. Anyway, we're talking about how do you treat your spouse when you're frustrated? I got to say, if you all can learn how to, not take your frustrations out on your spouse. In fact, if you could even start from the space of not being frustrated in the first place. Again, frustration comes out of fear. So what's the fear of? Yeah. I can't pay my bills. I can't get a job. I can't find what I'm looking for. I can't make these people take me seriously. Like you said, they're not taking me seriously at work. So I'm going to come home and take the frustration out of my spouse. Listen, your spouse is your best friend, or should be. If your spouse is not your best friend, you've really got to reevaluate your relationship. I'm telling you that right now. You might think your best awesome friend is your best awesome friend, but they don't live with you. No. They don't spend 24 hours a day with you. But I see them 3 or 4 times a week. That doesn't matter. It doesn't count as your best friend. It doesn't count.
Best friend is your spouse.
Yeah, your best friend you probably see for dinner once a week for 2 hours. Maybe that's your best friend, you think, but that's not your best friend. That's a friend, but that's not your best friend. Your best friend is there for every single thing you're doing in your life. Jesus Christ should be your best friend. We want to make sure that he sits with us, that he talks with us, that we talk with him, and a lot of times I've had to learn too. I've had to learn to shut up and let him talk to me.
Oh, well, hello.
Because so many times I'm like, Lord, let me just tell you. I had a Zoom call with an individual recently, and all this person did was talk, and I couldn't get a word in. Yeah. And I was like, well, and then the person ended going, so what do you think? I said, well, the first thing I think is you need to listen more.
Yeah, stop talking.
Because you don't shut up. Exactly.
I've said that.
And I've been guilty of that too. I've been guilty of it too.
Well, and then also, so what advice can you give when something like that does happen? That, something fell and it broke and you were trying to get out, get somewhere. Man. And I happened to be in the car with you after that thing broke, and then you picked it up, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot my makeup bag. I got to go to my car to get it. And then I go grab it and I'm here. I'm just saying, using that as an example.
The makeup bag is a constant source of frustration. That is one.
Okay, but how do you deal?
That does happen a lot.
How do you deal with how are you dealing with it on the inside when you are frustrated at something dumb that just happened?
Oh, what I've learned, again, still not perfect, still working, still growing over here, still not perfect at all. I have learned I have to really take a moment and breathe and go like, okay. Sometimes I just give up. I just go like, you know what? I can't change this at all. I'm a very time-oriented person. I'm kind of like a time Nazi. I need to be where, if someone says be there at 10, I'm there at 10 till. So if I'm being slowed down or I can't get somewhere on time, it's just really where I think I come from a family or something. Maybe I do. Can't remember.
You come from a family? I think you do come from
Well,
a
I
family.
mean, maybe I come from a family of people that were never on time, but I can't remember.
Right.
But I always want to make sure that I'm not making people wait for me. I try and respect other people's time. I know certain times you have to get somewhere to get something set up and to do something. I never want to be late. And that's a weird thing for me. I've got to learn how to deal with that too. That's something I've got to learn how to not take.
But it's good that you never want to be late. But when it comes to that, you take it out on yourself, you take it out on the person, or not even, you've never done that to me. I mean, you've been frustrated with me many times about the late thing. Absolutely. But I mean,
have you been late?
Oh yes, many times. And I get that. I'm not, I guess my thing is more like, yes, that is definitely something to deal with. But also when something that's unrelated to the person happens, but you're carrying over the frustration, and the person who is the closest to you will get the brunt of it.
Amen. I know it's true. And you got to make sure that doesn't happen. And if you do find yourself getting frustrated, we need to do what the Lord said to do. And that's in Matthew 22:39. Love your neighbor as yourself. And loving your neighbor as yourself is such a huge deal. I mean, your neighbor is just as close as your spouse is. I mean, I don't know if you guys out there, if you're married or have a relationship or if you're involved with somebody, but we spend all of our time together, Julieann and I. I mean, not every moment of every day, but pretty much every moment. No, we really are. I mean,
we're also very respectful of each other's time. It's like last night, Butch was speaking at an event.
Yes.
And I just could not go. I had to spend time with the Lord. I've got a lot of stuff I'm teaching on the next week. And so I was like, no,
and you had a lot of things to take care of too.
Yeah.
And it was like a 4-hour deal. So
yeah. So, and plus it was pouring down rain. It was just crazy. But anyway, I stayed home and I just was up in my office to spend time with the Lord. And then Butchie came back and came home. I wasn't done. And he just let me have my time up there. So it's like we can respect each other's times. Like for instance, he, when I see he's in the zone with his drawing and stuff, unless it's really, really, really important, I don't usually pull him out of his zone unless it's been 3 hours. But because I know that's where he likes to go. That's where he rests.
Well, the zone exists not for my relaxation, although I do relax.
I think you do.
Well, no, I'm in the zone. I mean, I've learned to relax in the zone. Yeah, but I mean, the stuff that we're doing now, you've seen all the work I've had to do. So there's a lot of work that needs to be generated. And yeah, so I'm like, look, I have to draw it. I have to get this done. I have to write this script. I have to get this project off the ground because this distributor is waiting for us to get it out the door. So there's all kinds of things, and you do the same thing. There's all kinds of, like, did you answer all those emails? And so we have to listen. We have a business that we run, guys, or several of them. So and we just opened up another one. So it's a lot of things.
Yeah,
that we're blessed to be able to do.
So I'm saying that with all of that on your plate, it's like your spouse is your most important person in your life, hands down. So you don't want to mistreat them because of, like, let's say you just got off the phone with someone and you're like, right? And the first person that you see is your spouse. And now you're going to just vomit all that on them. And then maybe even find something that bothered you a week ago, but you never said anything. But now, since you're angry about your friend or the person you've had an argument with, now all of a sudden, all right. And you know what else? Remember when you did that last week? Well, I didn't like that or whatever. That's what those things, you got to keep the main thing, right? So whatever you're talking about, you need to keep it where it is. And if you need to go on from there, then you mutually need to say, okay, here's another situation that has really been frustrating me. Can we talk about it now? And so get the mutual consent. And then that's a better way of doing it. Otherwise, you're going to either give each other the silent treatment, you're going to yell at each other, get mad at each other. That would be our case. And you don't want to do that because that is your spouse for life.
We both come from yelling situations. So we learned how to yell at a very early age. And as adults, we both made, we really did. We made a conscious effort to have a house of peace. And I think we've for the most part achieved that. We really have. Right here, Alexandra, the beautiful Alexandra says, I've been frustrated with my work, my relationships, health, and employment. Join the club, Alexandra. How can I renew my mind to cast my cares? I know you talked about casting the care, but what's that look like? Let me ask you a question, Alexandra. That's a good question, by the way. What do you think it looks like? Me casting my cares is way different than her casting her cares.
Right.
Everyone's an individual. God made us all individual. When you're frustrated about all those different things, and listen, all the things you mentioned, everyone gets frustrated with at some point.
Yeah.
What you can do is what I do sometimes, I begin to compartmentalize. Like, what am I frustrated with about my health right now? Or what am I frustrated with about my work right now? Or whatever it is. Try and get to a place where you can think of one thing at a time and not put them all in the same bowl and shake it in your head every day. I mean, that'll just really, really frustrate you. And let's break it down. Are you really that frustrated with everything you think you're frustrated with? I mean, is it really that bad?
Yeah, because you're right. Because it might be just one thing that's like that actually is the most frustrating thing, but then all the little things around it, you're saying, well, I'm just frustrated with all of it.
The health thing is one of the easiest things to take care of, unless you're like somehow in a situation where you have gotten, you're in a hospital and you're in a bed and can't move or something. Health is an easy thing to take care of. Food, diet, exercise, your hygiene, all that stuff. That's a very easy thing for the most part. That's in your control.
Yeah.
Right. Also, your mental
health.
I was going to say health. Yeah. What you put in your mind really affects your health too.
It does.
That's fear, anxiety. You've got to get control over all of that stuff too. And it's not, it needs to come to a point where it's not a thing every day where you're just, I'm juggling all these things. I must maintain control of my life. That's why you walk with the Prince of Peace every day. Jesus is the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
And when you walk with him, you're going to be like him. It's like a kid who hangs out with a bunch of bad kids. That one kid is going to become just like the bad kids. You're always going to become like who you hang out with. So hang out with the Lord, you'll become more like him.
I wanted to read this one scripture because, sometimes we use scriptures for one thing, but we don't carry it over into every part of our lives or different parts of our lives. Well, one of them here is Ephesians 1:18, and talking about peace, it says here that the eyes, I'm sorry, Ephesians 2:14. I knew it didn't look right. It says, for he himself is our peace. He himself is our peace.
Peace. Not like piece of pizza, like peace of God.
Right. So just remember that he is, for he himself is our peace. And then we have Isaiah 26:3, which is my favorite. I love that scripture. I quote that all the time.
We'll tell people what it is.
I'm going to read it because it says, I will keep him in perfect peace. Or I'm sorry, you will. So it says, you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for in Yah, the Lord is everlasting.
Let me repeat that. You, meaning God will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him. What is your mind stayed on every day? Is your mind stayed on how bad people are treating you every day? Yeah. Is your mind stayed on, man, these people just don't understand me and I'm being attacked and they're out to get me? Is that what your mind is stayed on every day? Because then if you think that every day, that's how you're going to act. You're going to act like you are being attacked and you're going to be defensive and you're not going to be very pleasant to be around. But if your mind is stayed on the Lord and you hang out with the Lord, you're going to want to bless people and you're going to want to, talk nicer. You want to be nicer. You're going to want to start giving and tithing, and you're going to want to start, opening your heart to people. That your entire attitude is going to change if you hang out with the Lord.
Yeah.
So that's how I do in my frustration.
Well,
and again, do I achieve it every day? No, I wish I did. But, sometimes you get so focused on what you're doing that you forget about keeping your mind on him and you focus on your, the frustrating thing.
Well, so John 14:27 says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. I was almost saying, let no one make your heart be troubled. But I guess we could say that too. Let no thing make your heart be troubled, and neither let it be afraid. So peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid.
Amen.
And that's what we're talking about, giving to the Lord. And then you say to yourself, okay, Lord, I see this word is in red, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do. Peace I give to you. I leave you. Okay, so Lord, I know you left me peace. And it's not the world kind of peace. So I am completely keeping you here, like in your presence is where I stay. I not as the world gives you do I give. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And then you say to yourself, what am I letting my heart be troubled over?
Yeah, are we letting it says let not, and what I love about that, let not your heart be troubled. That means if you're letting it, you have control over it. You have control over letting your heart be afraid or not. You know, we have the option to be worried or not be worried. Isn't it weird how sometimes you'll be worried about something that seems so insignificant to me, and vice versa?
I know.
I'll be worried about something, you'd be like, "What are you so worried about?" And it's that we just experience that every day with each other.
And it's kind of cute too when you've got like kids and something that's so small, but it's so huge to them. You know, and it's
that's their world. That's their frame of reference. Yeah.
You know what? In a couple of years, you're not going to remember this, but it's so big at the time. But you let them go through and experience things. I think that is always so cute when that happens. But you know, it's like that's why when you keep a diary or a journal, it's not diary anymore, it's journal. When you keep a journal, you write down some things, and that's when you go back and you read and you go, ugh. I thought the whole world was crashing in that day. I thought it was the end of the world. Yep. And look at me, I'm 5 years later. You know, there was this thing that I used to write on called Penzu, PENZU.
Like it was like a website or something?
Online journaling thing. And it's still around because I would write on it daily. And it will now email me and say, in 2000 and whatever, 8, you wrote this. And you're like, I did.
Oh, it reminds you.
Oh, yeah. And it tells you what you wrote.
Are they good things or bad things?
Well, at the time, the ones that I was writing on was when I was 6. It reminded me of all the things I forgot.
Wow.
Right. That it was just keep reminding me about what my life was like back then.
Wow. Well, guys, look, we love you, and we hope you had a great week. Please have an amazing week this coming week.
Yes.
We've got some exciting stuff to talk about pretty soon. You can go to our www.gardencartoon.com and get our first episode of our cartoon, The Garden, absolutely free. The Garden is also available on Amazon right now. Go to Amazon, type in The Garden. You can pre-order episodes of The Garden. That's our brand new cartoon. It's going to be so cool. Check out my Instagram. Check out The Garden Cartoon Instagram and The Garden Cartoon TikTok and my TikTok and all this stuff. You can find us all on social media. We're slowly leaking it out there. It's going to be awesome. Our Christmas episode is going to premiere very soon in a very special place. We'll tell you about that too.
Yeah. And also too, don't forget, we have Pastor Rich Van Winkle coming up for the journey, which is great. And then we've got another great one coming after that. And then we fall right into the holidays, which is crazy.
It's almost Thanksgiving.
I know. So I love you all tonight. Tomorrow morning, catch Cindy Mezas and Mike Hoesch, which is going to be awesome. And then Friday is Jeremiah. And we also, I don't know if you know this, but Javier Macias is our guest teacher.
Mi amigo, muy bien.
He's amazing. He's awesome. You're going to love him.
He's muy guapo as well. El guapo.
And he just became a padre.
And he's a papa.
A papa.
A papa.
Yeah, he just became a father.
He's got that bambino.
Mm-hmm. But he's awesome teacher, and I can't wait for you guys to hear. So if you have not listened to him, make sure you do, because it's really, really good.
All right, we love you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.